with that, we welcome you to the second floor of the Duncan Student Center. It is 4 men in blue blazers. It's John Bailey, it's Ben Rohr, and Jimmy Collins, and myself, Jacob Irons. We are so happy to bring you this blue-gold preview as we get a slimmer of a glimpse at what could be coming here in the 2024 football season. We'll start with maybe the biggest position for this team heading into this new year, and it's the quarterback position. They go pick up Riley Leonard out of the portal, but there's a conversation to be had for 1 through 4 on this roster right now. We'll start with you, Mr. Bailey. Riley Leonard, what do you think? Injured so far, so in this spring. Does he play in the spring game? Is he reserved, and what do you feel about him coming into this 2024 season?
I don't think we'll see any of Riley Leonard in the spring game. They're going to want to be conservative with him and make sure that he's fully healthy when they take on Texas A&M week 1. That's the priority, not a practice game in the spring. And in terms of his performance, I'm going to look to some wisdom from former President George W. Bush. He's got a quote like this. I know there's a saying in Tennessee. I think it's in Texas. I know it's in Tennessee. It goes like, if you fool me once, you can't get fooled again. Notre Dame has gotten fooled before with these transfer quarterbacks. They got fooled with Jack Cohn, a man as stationary as his namesake Traffic Cone. They got fooled with Sam Hartman. Yes, he's got genes for good hair and a nice beard, but he doesn't have genes for that athleticism, that speed to take off when the pocket crumbles and he's pressured. We're not going to get fooled again with Riley Leonard because he is going to be a star. He's going to be an early day 2, if not first-round draft pick in the NFL next season because he is an exceptional athlete and improviser. He can navigate the pocket well under pressure, and he can just make plays come out of nowhere. He will thrive in this offense regardless of the talent you put around him because of his intangibles. And we're going to need that week 1 against A&M with an inexperienced offensive line. And he's going to be facing pressure from the Aggies. They're going to be at home. It's going to be loud. They're going to have pressure on the blitz. He's going to have to watch out from that interior. He's a little weaker on there, but anything around the corner on the edge, he's got that. He's going to make plays. He's a stud.
Yeah, wow. He should be a very big stud. Ben Rohr, maybe we'll transition for you. Looking at the backup quarterback, the fight for QB2 right now is large.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what I would like to see happen is you give it to Angeli in the QB2 spot. Angeli has done exactly what he has been tasked to do as the Notre Dame football quarterback. He has come in, these have not been in high-pressure situations, granted, but he's come in and he's played fantastic football. Oregon State in the bowl. Great little showing there. All these games where he's had were up huge. No real, important mistakes. Lots of touchdowns even. Like he's shown that he can be productive in games against real defenses where these teams haven't given up, but we were not in a high-pressure situation. So I think if you give him a chance to, get his feet under him in a real game, I'd like to see what he can do because we know the talent is there, we know the skills are there, we know the technique is there because we've been seeing it in these practice types games where he's in. But if you give him a chance in a high-pressure situation, I think he's got to be the QB2.
Gonna be the QB2? Jimmy Collins?
Yeah, I think, we all say at the beginning of every year, new year, new me.
Okay.
New year, new me. New year, new quarterback for Notre Dame. I think it's going to be tough because I really wish that Riley Leonard is going to be able to play in the spring game. And he's not, so we're going to get to see Angeli, Carr, and Minchey, which will be exciting because we will need to know what we have coming after. And we kind of already know what we have with Angeli. Carr, freshman, so everyone loves him. But I think my only worry with Riley Leonard is that this new offense that we're bringing in with our new OC and really throw the ball down the field is maybe that was the offense that we needed for Sam Hartman.
Yeah.
And like John said, that we got fooled with Sam Hartman, but I really think if he had this offense, he would have been in an amazing spot, potentially a Heisman candidate last season. So that's really my only worry there.
Yeah, Mike Denbrock comes in for his time here at Notre Dame to be the next offensive coordinator for the Irish. Proves to be a very interesting conversation over the spring game as well as who will take over that position too. We have to imagine will be determined over the spring game at Blue-Gold, but coaching staff has told us very openly in press conferences that it will not be decided until early August, that full depth chart. We'll take a quick break, but before we do, April is the giving month here on campus. So with that, ND Television is brought to you by viewers like yourself and you donating. Please scan the QR code on the right side of your screen as the funds that we receive allow us to bring higher quality content to you. We'll take a quick break and a read from Sunrise when we come back.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to ND Sunrise.
This is the
review of the Keenan Review.
That's right, we've got a big game in Sin City.
Plot twist, I am the Grim Reaper.
Overall, this year's event was a rousing success.
Would Notre Dame be the first one to accept ASL as a foreign language as a department?
Once again, I'm Elena Morgan from ND Sunrise, signing off.
But guess what? It took a team of 7 to get us here, but we're here. So let's go with the Blue-Gold game. Ultimately, we always talk about it. It's a scrimmage, essentially, for this team. It lacks a little bit of gamesmanship, although Marcus Freeman brings in, trying to keep the teams on like Brian Kelly did. But what is one player that needs to stand out for you guys here coming into this? What maybe is a veteran player specifically to start off with that people need to look for to have that big breakout here in this Blue-Gold game to hopefully look ahead to 2024?
So I'm starting with Jack Kaiser, Mr. 6th-year senior. He had his first spring game back in 2019 when you guys had guys like Zeke Carrell and Kyron Williams coming in. Now all those guys are gone. All the coaches are gone. Brian Kelly's gone. Kyron Williams is entering his 3rd NFL season, but yet Jack Kaiser is still here, bringing that veteran leadership and experience to a linebacker group that is full of talent on a bunch of young players that could really step up and contribute this year. And really, Kaiser's greatest attribute is his versatility and intelligence out there. He can play any position. He can play the rover, he can play the Mike, and he'll play most of the season at the will, the weak side linebacker. And even though, he's a grown man at this point, he's still been putting up a lot of big numbers in the weight room. He's up to 232 pounds, a lot of strength, and I expect that's going to be really helpful in helping him fill the void left by J.D. Bertrand and getting a bunch of those tackles in the backfield, being able to bring down the bigger ball carriers, and maybe even getting some pressure on the inside for some sacks.
Nice. Some sacks. Jimmy Collins, who are you looking to?
I guess on defense, stick with the defense, like I think we all are.
Defense wins championships.
Yes. Exactly. Defense wins championships. We got Al Golden back. I think that Ben Morrison, obviously, as everyone loves Ben Morrison, he is the best player on our defense. And he's got a little injury right now, but that's okay.
Yeah.
His draft stock, he's going to be a high first-round pick next year. And for me, I just want to see him keep playing to that potential because teams aren't going to afford him after 2 seasons.
Well, Nick rolling, has pressure in his face, has to just throw this ball, and it's intercepted. Picked off by Benjamin Morrison, having the game of his life.
Should be a good guy to look at. But I think Ben Rohr might be having another conversation for maybe the best player
I was gonna say,
on the defense.
I may just challenge you. I might just raise you the Defensive Player of the Year, Mr. Xavier Watts, who had 7 interceptions last year. He's coming back, and I love that he came back, right? He has, the year of a career, really, last year. But he decides to come back. He says he wants to work. He's always been about slow development. He realizes that's how he needs to learn, and I love that. He wants to work on his tackling. He wants to work on his leadership before making that jump to the NFL, and I love those attributes because I think if he, really can nail those down, there's no reason he also isn't a high first-round pick with Benmo up there. And I think I'm excited to have him come back and play another season because he was so incredibly awesome last year. Obviously, the USC game sticks in everyone's minds. Yeah. But the fact that we get to watch him again play for this Irish team is just so exciting to me. And I think he's going to develop even more, draft stock even higher.
It's a treat.
Yeah, it should be a treat. Makes for a stacked secondary for this Irish team that has a lot to show for, especially in their first game against Texas A&M and a Mike Elko aired-out team a little bit. But now we always talk about the spring game, and you want to talk about the breakout players. Who are those players that people haven't heard of just yet that are going to find themselves being talked about on Saturdays when fall comes? In April 2024, they give that opportunity to shine. John, we'll go back to you. What do you think?
So I've been beating this drum for a long time now, but it comes down to the trenches, the offensive and defensive line. Ever since Notre Dame got dominated in the BCS Bowl against Alabama in 2012, they put an emphasis on building from the inside out. And they've had a plethora of talented offensive linemen in the years since. You talk about some of the best, all from Notre Dame. We see Joe Alt this year, projected to be a top 10, maybe top 5 pick, the left tackle, absolute stud. Charles Jagusaw, his successor, is going to step up and be absolutely pivotal to the success of this team and Riley Leonard's success this season. He's a big guy, 6'7", 329. That's a DJ Burns size man.
That is a DJ Burns. That's my man right there.
Yeah, he's big and strong.
How did that turn out?
Yeah, that didn't turn out well for me. But hey, keep going, John. Keep going.
We all love NC State, what they did in the tournament this year. And I think Jagusaw is going to have an even bigger season than Burns did. He's big and strong, but he's also got great bend. A lot of guys of that size, 6'7", they tend to bend at the hips, but he's able to get down to those knees and use a lot more power when he goes to step through to block a defender. And he's also been working a lot on his hands as well. That's something that Joe Alt really emphasized that made him such an elite pass blocker. And I think we're going to see his combination of size, hands, and quickness with the feet, a former soccer player, that he's going to really stand out this season.
Yeah, got our own line breaking it down. Let's go back to you, Jimmy Collins. Who do you think?
Yeah, the guy that I want to highlight most is a transfer, wide receiver Chris Mitchell, who is shaping up to be wide receiver 1 right now. Yeah. And that guy can go up and get it. He had 1,000 yards last year at FIU, and we didn't even have a receiver last year with over 500 yards. I mean, having a guy like that on the edge who can go up and get the ball is going to be huge in this offense. We're going to be able to throw it up like you see right here, go up and get it. I think we're going to see a lot of him this year at wide receiver 1, and man, I think it's going to be really, really exciting.
Should be exciting indeed, as he had a big breakout game. 2 touchdowns against the Maine Black Bears in his opening day that past year for FIU there. But then I think you're feeling it out a little bit. You're staying on those hot takes a little bit.
Yeah, I want to take a look at really who's going to be there in the future, because I've got a pair of true freshmen that I'm a little bit excited to talk about. Cam Williams, another wide receiver who, may not be in that wide receiver, 1-2 conversation right away, but I think he's got a lot of great attributes. I think he needs to work on getting on top of the defense. Sometimes he'll get swallowed up. That's what we saw a lot about in high school, but I think he can work on that, develop, and really move into a wide receiver 1 through 3 conversation for us. Absolutely. But then also Kingston Viliamu-Asa. I'm really excited about him. Every single ranking had him at the lowest, top 15 linebacker recruits in the class. Some of them had him in the top 5. Really excited. He's super versatile, knowing he can blitz, he can stuff a run. I'm very, very excited about him. I think he's going to be a great one to watch and hopefully get to see some action from him in this spring game, because I think he can come in and make an impact right away.
Yeah, should be a lot of fun to watch him play and have that impact indeed. Someone that is also having impacts are both lacrosse teams. Our own Avery White is breaking it down in our Friday headlines. Avery.
Thanks, Jake, and hi, everybody. I'm Avery White here with your Friday headlines. Let's start with lacrosse, where the Notre Dame women picked up their 7th straight victory yesterday at Liberty. Casey Choma led the way for the Irish with 3 goals in the 11-5 win. The team will make the short drive from Lynchburg, Virginia to Blacksburg for another game tomorrow at Virginia Tech. The Hokies are 9-6 overall and 2-5 in ACC play. Coming off last weekend's 15-12 road win over number 3 Duke, the men's lacrosse team retained their number 1 ranking in the Inside Lacrosse National Poll for the 3rd straight week. The Irish are back on the road this weekend, visiting number 8 Cornell. The Big Red are 7-3 this year and have won their last 2 games, including an 18-17 upset over then number 4 Syracuse. In order to stay at number 1, Notre Dame will have to solve Cornell goaltender Wyatt Nust, who was named USA Lacrosse Magazine's Player of the Week on Monday. Finally, spring has officially arrived at Notre Dame because the South Bend Cubs are back in action. The High A affiliate of the Chicago Cubs held their home opener on Tuesday night, and a few of our NDTV friends were in attendance, including our president, Jacob Irons, who snapped this picture. The Cubs have home games on all 3 days this weekend before taking a road trip to Beloit next week. They will return for another homestand April 23rd through the 28th. Those are your Friday headlines. Have a great weekend, everybody. Now back to Jake and the panel for more Blue-Gold analysis.
Hey, thanks so much, Avery. A lot of fun. Let me just tell you, we might be having a group outing here soon at Four Winds Field. Don't get me started on minor league baseball. I'm just saying, as everyone here on this show knows, as well as behind the scenes, minor league baseball and me go together like PB&J. Maybe Angeli and Mike Denbrock too. So we'll find out soon. But we've talked about the players themselves. But let's take a look at groups in general. And this one stays on to maybe your veteran pick here, John, of going to the linebackers and what they can produce here in 2024.
Yeah, I definitely think the linebackers and secondary are going to be the most pivotal parts of this defense. Jimmy, you're big on the secondary. I know you're going to talk about those guys in a bit. But right now I'm going to talk about the guys in the middle who've really become a little more undervalued in recent years. There's this big emphasis on edge rushers and lockdown corners. But you need to have a solid linebacker group.
Player of the Year in Missouri last year, also the 100-meter champion. Hartman hit as he throws, doesn't matter. Right on.
Depth, versatility, and top-end talent. Obviously, Jack Kaiser is going to lead the group, but there's so many high-level role players. Guys like Prince Colley and Jalen Sneed, but I'm really excited about Drake Bowen and Jaden Osbury. Two guys that I think are really going to be key impact players. Bowen has been playing a lot of the mic. That's the leader of the defense, and I think he's really got this calm aura about him. He's so young, but he's already stepped up. He's able to break down the offense, communicate that effectively to the defense, and he's so calm while doing so, which is really usual for a player of his age. And Osbury, versatility. He's a lot like Jeremiah Wusu-Koromoa, that you can play him a lot in the secondary too. A little bit of safety, a little bit of nickel corner. He's usually a rover linebacker, but we don't play the rover that much with Al Golden since we do a lot of nickel. I think he's going to be all over the field and making plays no matter what position you put him in.
Yeah, should be interesting to see linebackers. Although, we want to talk about secondary, but you also want to talk about the talent and scoring some touchdowns, and you already touched on it as well with Chris Mitchell. Let's go to the wide receivers here. They need a big year.
Yeah, I mean, I want to talk about the guys that are going to be running through secondaries and catching touchdowns this year. I talked about Chris Mitchell, how amazing he's going to be, 1,000-yard receiver last year, but we also brought in guys like Bo Collins. We're returning Jaden Thomas, Jordan Faison, who became a stud in the second half of the year.
Great house.
Who expected that?
Oh, we want to talk about Jordan Faison. We want to talk about Jordan Faison on lacrosse, too. That's a stud himself. Two-sport athlete stud. Yeah, that's an athlete that we're going to get on the wide receiver.
We're bringing back Greathouse, who had a couple touchdowns last year, early in the season against Navy.
Player of the Year in Missouri last year, also the 100-meter champion. Hartman hit as he throws, doesn't matter. Right on time for Deion Colsey. Play action now on first down, taking another shot over the middle of the field. It's caught. Touchdown, Notre Dame. Jaden Greathouse, the freshman, perfectly there for Hartman.
Great. We're going to air it out because Denbrock loves to air it out. You saw it last year when he was in LSU. And I really think that this wide receiver room is going to score a lot of touchdowns this year.
Yeah, they should be a lot of fun. Hey, we're giving the men in the trenches some props here, Ben.
We're back. I'm talking about the men in the trenches. I'm so excited. But I must say, this is more of a talk of how nervous I am a little bit about this offensive line. Obviously, O-line still, I'm not going to say we're losing that moniker, but what I'm worried about is we're returning Rocco Spindler and Pat Coogan, but both the tackles gone. Blake Fisher, didn't really work out. He's gone. Zeke Carrell transferred our center, but obviously, and then the unfillable hole of Joe Alt is gone. But as you talked about earlier, Jagusa is going to be great. I'm excited about that. The right tackle position is where I'm a little bit worried. You've got
into the game at running back. Hartman fakes the ball to Payne. Foot throw goes to Estime. Estime breaks the tackle in for the touchdown.
They got a lot of backs trying to use him.
Hartman looking deep downfield, and he has Chris Tyree, who runs underneath of it, and in for the touchdown goes Tyree. Running back flipped this ball to Jadarian Price.
Below him, waiting in the wings for that right tackle position. They have a little bit more size to Absher has size. But I'm just worried about that right tackle position being able to hold up throughout the season because Baker, his pad level blocking has been really suspect, and I need them to fill that hole, and I hope they can. I'm not going to say they can't, but I really, really am hoping they can.
Week one's going to be a big test.
Yes.
Hope they can.
Big test.
Woo! Okay.
We have faith on our side, right?
Yeah. Yeah. That's right.
Mary is on the dome, so we would hope.
Probably a little bit too much of it when it comes to the football team.
Yeah, there is a lot of it. I think I've sat on the past 2 preview shows and said, this is a national championship caliber team. I found ourselves in the Fiesta Bowl and the Sun Bowl and the Gator Bowl. So we'll find out maybe next year when I come back on and say the same thing. Maybe that actually works. But we'll take a quick break and we'll talk about the playoffs and what maybe our panelists think is the best format for the college football playoffs. They've got some intriguing thoughts and predictions about what could be coming from the CFP. We'll take a quick break from Amazon. We'll be right back.
Hi, Irish. My name is Elisa Helmy, and I'm NDTV Director of Operations. If you'd like to support NDTV, make sure to click on the link on the screen or in our description. It's an Amazon link, will take you straight to the site, and any purchase you make through that link, we receive a small portion of the revenue. This is a great way to support NDTV and get all those things you need for the perfect Notre Dame tailgate. I'm talking, mugs and flags and hats and all the merch that you need. So make sure to click on that link and support NDTV. We're here for all of you. Thank you.
We welcome you back here, second floor, staying in the stools, because we got to break down maybe the best thing about college football, the college football playoff. There's been much controversy over the last couple of weeks about what is the best format, what is the format going to change to, maybe even after this expanded playoff run here. And this year, we'll start with you, John, like we have so far today. What is your vision for the college football playoffs?
Jake, I don't actually know if the playoff is the best thing about college football, given that it has kind of ruined the sport to an extent with the conference realignment. I like where we're going. It's made it so much more, commercialized even in excess to where it was before, and gotten rid of a lot of the tradition and pageantry. So my solution is to rectify these all these issues, minimize their harms, and make college football great again. And I believe we can do that with an 8-team playoff. Then everybody has their way. There are no buys. We're not going to have commissioners saying, oh, the Big Ten should have 5 teams. Oh, the SEC needs 6 of the 12 teams. You have your fair amount. There's no automatic bids. 8 teams is going to make sure that nobody's really left out. You're going to have the conference champions, and you're going to have a couple of at-large bids from, really strong contending teams. That's going to be more essential in these coming years as you see the Big Ten become the Big 20 and have these strong teams like Oregon and USC competing with Ohio State and Michigan. You're going to have a lot more quality losses, and that's going to make it a lot more challenge to evaluate who just the top 4 teams would be, which is why I think expansion is necessary. I think 8 makes it great. You look at any sort of professional playoffs, 8 teams played all the way through, have your champion, no buys, beautiful.
I like it, Jimmy Collins. Where are we going?
I'm taking it a totally different direction. And you kind of hinted at the fact that the college football playoff may have sort of ruined college football, and I totally agree. So I am getting rid of the playoff. We're going back to the computer, BCS style. Two national champions.
So wild.
Hear me out.
Coming back.
Okay, we're hearing you out.
National championship game, top 2 teams in the country, and every single year it will be played at the Rose Bowl. Come on, who doesn't like that?
I do like that.
The best venue in college football. The last time that the BCS was played, it was at the Rose Bowl, and Jameis Winston won the national championship. Who doesn't
really
love
want that?
Jameis Winston?
Crab legs again?
Yeah, come on now. Come on now.
I'm serious. He hinted at it, and I totally agree. We're going to make college football great again, like you said you wanted to do, but I'm actually going to do it. And we're going back to the BCS 2-team, 1 national championship game at the Rose Bowl.
1 game.
Yeah,
I don't think
absolutely not. Absolutely not. I think in this entire little run here, I'm going to be playing devil's advocate a lot because you know what? Let's hear them out. Let's hear them out with 12, guys.
Let's
hear them out with 12. You know why? Because I think it opens the door for Notre Dame to get in a lot. I think if
every year.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Notre Dame gets in every year.
With 18.
I don't know that Notre Dame always finishes top 8. Top 12 is pretty consistent, and I think that's my avenue on it. I mean, obviously, conference realignment for the athletes is devastating, and a whole bunch of stuff to go along with it. But you know what? 2 and 8 we're taking. 4's not rocking it. I like 12. Let's stick there.
Let's stay 12. Wow.
Number 12.
Yes.
He can't even get it. He can't even say it without laughing.
No, I believe that.
It's so ridiculous.
Oh my gosh! However, I do agree. I think more teams that you can get in, the better at this situation. It allows more teams the opportunity to get in a little bit of money onto their programs as well. Yeah. Especially those group of 5 that they can make a move and do some moving and shaking. That could be huge here as well. So I'm a big fan of the 12.
Are we having the higher seeds host, or are we doing neutral site games? That's what I want to know in the 12-team playoff that you want.
This is your answer. I'm just providing backup here for you, buddy.
We're going neutral sites. You know why? Because then you use the New Year's 6s as your 12 games, or like your 12 teams.
Yeah.
Those are your 6 games of this 12-team playoff.
Okay.
Are you using the neutral site New Year's 6s?
I'm sick of this stuff. I'm just sick of it what if. No, we just keep it the same. Go back to 2 when it was great. It was great. That's how it was great.
Living in the past.
Keep it the same.
Wait, hold on. So,
change
Jimmy,
it to 2
Jimmy
and
Collins,
keep it the same.
can I remind you, maybe someone was good during the BCS period?
Yeah, Notre Dame.
Yeah, so I don't know if they're in the same state, but we'll find out, why don't we?
Yes.
I think we're going to find out relatively soon whether they will find themselves as a part of the 12-team playoff this upcoming 2024 season. Some people that are looking to not be a part of the college football playoffs, but a part of the Super Bowl are some Irish alumni that are looking to take their skills to the next level. Our own Kean Bagenstos breaks down some top draft picks.
In the history of the NFL draft, no school has had more players drafted into the league than the Fighting Irish of 526. In just under 2 weeks' time, the Irish will be looking to add to that total. In this video, we will dive into the select few who will add to the impeccable legacy of the Irish in the NFL. First up, Big Joe Alt, the big fish of the Irish draft class. Big offensive tackle Joe Alt, who has started 33 consecutive games in 3 years for the Irish. Alt may be one of the most accoladed players in Notre Dame history. His freshman year, he was named to the Sean Alexander Freshman of the Year watch list, as well as a Pro Football Focus freshman All-American. Sophomore year, second-team All-American for USA Today, The Athletic, AFCA, Walter Camp, FWAA, and Sporting News. First-team All-American for ESPN, CBS Sports, 247 Sports, Pro Football Focus, and the Associated Press. And junior year, Notre Dame Offensive Lineman of the Year, Outland Trophy finalist, Best Interior Lineman in America, Lombardi Award finalist, Lineman of the Year, and first-team All-American for USA Today, The Athletic, CBS Sports, American Football Coaches Association, The Sporting News, Associated Press, Walter Camp, FWAA, and the Associated Press. What makes Joe Alt so great is his elite footwork that allows him to always stay on his man, and his great head-on-a-swivel sense that allows him to sense and pick up rushing defensive players that have gone uncovered before they cause trouble. So with all of this, expect him to be a very high draft pick, at least top 10 and maybe even top 5. Next up, Notre Dame's huge prize in last year's transfer portal, Sam Hartman, did disappoint in his lone year at the Irish, but overall had a tremendous career. He broke many records, including ACC record for most touchdown passes, second most passing yards in ACC history, fifth most passing yards in FBS history, third in FBS in touchdown passes all time. Now, these records were all achieved while he was at Wake Forest. When Hartman joined a big-time program and a true blue blood, he was unable to handle the pressure and expectations. Let's compare some stats. Hartman of Wake Forest, 2021, 4,228 yards, 39 touchdowns, 14 picks. 2022 of Wake Forest, 3,701 yards, 38 touchdowns, 12 picks. And then in his lone year of ND, 2,689 yards, 24 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, 175 yards, 1 touchdown against number 6 OSU, 222 yards, no touchdowns against number 17 Duke, 3 picks against number 25 Louisville, and 126 yards against number 10 USC. True NFL stars have to be able to handle the pressure of being an NFL quarterback and be able to play big during the moments where it truly matters. So while Hartman is a very talented quarterback with first or second round potential, this unfortunate truth about pressure will make him a day 3 pick. Then, Audric Estime. Big Drick is headed to the big league. Audric Estime filled Kyron Williams' shoes perfectly over his 2 years with the Irish, with 920 yards and 11 touchdowns as a sophomore, and 1,341 yards, 12th in NCAA, and 18 TDs, third in the FBS, while averaging over 6 yards per carry in both years. Some of the big awards he won during his time in South Bend: 2023 ND Offensive Player of the Year, second team All-American for Associated Press, The Sporting News, USA Today, and CBS Sports, all in 2023. Estimate will probably be a 4th or 5th round pick. This definitely does not reflect his ability, as Estimate has exhibited 1st or 2nd round pick production with his work last year. But he is underrated by a lot of NFL teams because of the elite offensive line that he was behind and because of his limited sample size, as he only put elite numbers up for 1 year, so teams are likely being more cautious with him. If he stayed next year and put up the same numbers, he'd be for sure a first or second round pick guaranteed. Estimates elite size, trucking ability, tackle breaking skills, and speed will make him a late round steal. He will bust out onto the scene in year 2 or 3, much like Kyron Williams did with the LA Rams. Then, Mr. J.D. Bertrand, the captain linebacker. Let's look at some stats. Freshman year, 101 tackles, 7 TFLs, tackles for loss. Sophomore, 82 tackles, 8.5 tackles for loss. Junior, 76 tackles, 7.5 tackles for loss. He had 6 sacks during his entire 3 years at ND. Awards, he was put on the watch list for the top linebacker butt kiss award and the Nagurski Award, the best offensive player in the NCAA. Bertrand is projected as a day 3, round 6, round 7 pick. Bertrand is a tremendous leader and teammate who has been an elite player, good enough to earn him a draft pick. However, with 0 interceptions and 6 sacks in his entire career, Bertrand has not made big plays to stick him out above the pack and has been more average in terms of on-field production as compared to the rest of the linebackers who are going into the draft class this year. Overall, besides Joe Alt, who will be a franchise player from day 1, this Irish draft class is very underrated, and there will be a lot of gems. If Sam Hartman can transfer his Wake Forest ability to the big leagues and let go of his pressure, or the pressure that comes with being a big-time quarterback, then he will fly at the NFL level. Estimated first-round talent. The NFL teams just don't know it yet. Let Esme cook, and he will be the next Kyron Williams. Bertrand has the work ethic, leadership, tackling ability, and consistency to be a great NFL player, as he's very consistent in his play. He is simply being overlooked due to a lack of big plays. But in today's NFL of high-flying offenses, a hard-working player who will make the tackle consistently is invaluable.
Thank you much, Kian, for that in-depth reporting. As we come back to sign it off for this week, we got a stacked week on campus, both this upcoming weekend and the weekend following, as Olympic sports are back. You have spring games. You got Clemson versus Notre Dame on softball. You got BC at home versus baseball on the diamond. Should be a lot of fun all around campus. That's going to do it for this episode of Shamrock Sports. I'm Jacob Irons and our entire Shamrocks crew saying so long. We'll talk to you in a couple weeks.